Hello my beautiful bad bitches, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla. If you have not seen my face before, don't forget to click the subscribe button down below. Today I am going to be talking about my ayahuasca experience. I will be talking about the second ceremony. This one was a trip. For sure. This was probably my most intense night out of all of them, and it was so far intense to the point where I was high on ayahuasca for 15 hours. The normal ceremony, it lasts between like 4 to 6 hours. I was on ayahuasca for 15 hours. If you want to hear what happened, make sure to stick around to the end because this was wild. My intention for this night was to tap into my feminine energy. I tend to have a lot of masculine energy because I'm always working, and I just had a lot of trauma to release, honestly, surrounding feminine energy, clearly. Yeah, so I used to have a lot of masculine energy to the point where I didn't even know what feminine energy felt like. That was something I really struggled with in my relationships, and that was my intention, was to tap into my feminine energy. And be careful what you wish for, because apparently that was a pretty big wish. When we're down there, there's the women's side and then the men's side, and by the time I got down there was a couple girls left, and there wasn't enough beds on the women's side, and they said, hey, like, we wanted to give the women more space this evening because there was more women than guys, so to split it up, they had a couple of us women go on the guys' side. And now normally that wouldn't be a problem for me, but I was just like, shit, tonight? Seriously? Like, out of all the nights, my intention is to tap into my feminine energy, and I'm on the guys' side. Like, what the heck? And instantly I just like kind of felt like I was gonna cry, and I'm just like, dang, like, I'm already feeling my emotions right now. I got really emotional because I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to tap into my feminine energy because there was so much masculine energy. You would think that, yeah, but like, honestly, it kind of worked out in my favor, and I kind of sat there and I'm like, okay, this is happening for a reason. Like, I have to be on the men's side tonight. But I was really worried that I wouldn't be able to achieve my intention being on the men's side. So as soon as I drank the first cup, I felt ayahuasca instantly. Now, the previous night, if you watched my previous video, I felt her like 30 minutes after. This night, I felt her literally instantly. As soon as I drank ayahuasca and it went down my esophagus, I felt her energy. I went to the bathroom, tried to poop, nothing came out because I was like cramping all day long. And in the beginning of the day, people were actually telling me like, maybe you need to heal your womb because my stomach was hurting so bad. And I was like explaining all my problems to them, and they were like, yeah, maybe you need to heal your womb. And like, that made a lot of sense to me. So I'm like in the bathroom trying to poop, and like nothing's coming out. And then I went to the grass to ground myself because that's what I did the previous night, and I thought that would make me feel better. So I'm sitting there kind of waiting, still not feeling so good. My stomach's hurting, and I really thought that I would have a similar experience to the night prior. And they always say no two ayahuasca ceremonies are the same, and it definitely was not. I was sitting on the grass, and literally less than a minute of me sitting on the grass, ayahuasca told me to go lay on my mat, and I felt her literally say that to me. Now, the night before, she did not communicate to me like this. It was more of a feeling. This night, I literally felt like I heard her. She was literally like, come on, let's go lay down on your mat. And I literally was like kind of arguing with her. I was like, I want tonight to be like last night. Like, the last night was so beautiful and magical, and I loved it so much. It was such a good experience. Like, I want to have another experience like that again. Yeah, she was not having that. She pretty much made me so sick to the point where I had no choice to go back down to my mat and lay down. I had my bucket, and I was like literally ready to puke. The previous night, I didn't throw up, and I thought I was gonna throw up this night because I just felt so insanely sick. When I went to my mat, I felt a little bit better, but I still felt like I was going to throw up. I was getting really frustrated, and I was literally in my head, like, when I say yell, I mean like yelling in my head, because like it's a silent ceremony. Like, I really wasn't trying to like disturb anybody, but I was literally like yelling at ayahuasca in my head, and I was just like, why can't I let go? Why can't I let go? And I kept saying that over and over and over and over again, and I just kept saying, why? Like, why am I feeling sick right now? That was going on for a while, and then finally I asked her, like, I was getting so frustrated, I'm like, what can't I let go of? Instantly, my mom. Now, before I say anything about this, I just want to say I love my mom so much, and I appreciate her so much, and she did the best that she could with what she had. A lot of my childhood, she dealt with a lot of mental health issues, as did I, and I felt as though she was not there for me in the way that I needed her to be. And I hate saying that because I know how shitty that might make her feel, but that was my true emotions. And I went through a lot with my mom. I'm not going to sit here and describe what I went through because it is very personal. You know, that's for me and her to discuss. That's all I want to say. I love my mom so much, but in this video I am going to be talking about my mom a lot because this ceremony had a lot to do with my mom. So I pretty much started crying a lot. Like, I was literally staring at this altar like across the room from me, and I'm just sitting there like tears going down my face. I probably looked like insanely sad and like devastated. Like, I felt devastated. I realized like, oh shit, I didn't even realize this. I didn't even realize these emotions so deep within me. I didn't realize how I felt towards this situation, and I was just crying and crying and crying. And like, that's like a form of purging, is crying, and I guess yawning too. Like, I yawned a lot too, but crying is a form of purging. I cried more than I have ever cried in my entire life. I'm not even joking you. I cried a lot. This woman, Patty, comes over to me and she starts comforting me. She's rubbing my back, and as she's sitting there rubbing my back, I felt feminine energy. And I felt it from her, I felt it from ayahuasca, and then I felt it from within myself. And I realized that I felt like I didn't have feminine energy because I had a mother wound. I was hurt by my mom, and I went through a lot with her, and I realized that I went through a lot of shit. It was extremely difficult for me to even feel okay having these emotions. And I finally was sitting there feeling these emotions, feeling devastated, feeling pissed off. Honestly, like, I really was pissed off. I probably looked like I was just really sad, but inside, like, I was pissed. I felt like Patty gave me the divine feminine energy that I had never experienced in my life, and I cannot thank her enough for that, because that moment in my life, it literally changed my life. I then started to feel an insane amount of gratitude for my dad. I realized how much he protected me, and I knew he did, but like the extent that he did, like I didn't realize. So sorry, my camera battery died, so I'm sorry if the angle and lighting is different now. Going from where I left off, I realized how much my dad was there for me, and how much, and I don't want this to sound like my mom wasn't there for me. She was in her own ways, but in the way that I needed her, she wasn't. What I remember of my mom for a lot of my teenage years is she was laying in bed, very depressed. So I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty details of stuff because it is very personal. It doesn't need to be said, but I realized how much my dad was there for me and how much he protected me. And like, I was just like, oh my God, like, thank you, Dad. Like, I literally wanted to text him like right then and there. Like, I wanted to text him and be like, oh my God, I love you, thank you. I did later that night. And then I also realized that I felt like I was protecting Haruki and me and his relationship because of the fact that I was protected by my dad. So that was almost the only energy that I knew was masculine energy. Like, I didn't have a balance, so I only protected people. Like, I was always protecting people. I was protecting Haruki, I was protecting friends. I was just always in my masculine protective energy. I realized that during this ceremony. I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm literally protecting everyone around me, even myself. I didn't feel protected by anybody else. Patty stayed there with me on my left for like quite a while. Like, she, oh my God, like, I will never forget. Like, she is just so amazing. The loving soul that she is just like, I can't even just put into words like how this felt, because like, I'm just so grateful for her comforting me in that moment. And like, it was a long time. Like, I went through a lot of shit. She told me, she was like, crying is like one of my favorite ways to purge. And I realized in that moment, I'm like, my stomach doesn't hurt anymore. Isn't that weird? I felt like I was gonna throw up, and instead of throwing up, I cried, and then that released my trauma and my stomach stopped hurting. That is just literally insane to me, because you would think I would have to throw up for my stomach to stop hurting, but I just had to cry. I think they like took the bucket because they were like doing something with the buckets, like putting sage on them or something. So like, I cried tears into my bucket. I did not throw up into my bucket, and they took it and like blessed it or something. I don't know exactly what they did with it. That's just kind of my interpretation of it, is it just kind of cleansed the energy. That was kind of cool. And she said, he's always protecting you. And in that moment, I actually don't know what she meant by this, because she said he's protecting you, and I thought she meant my dad. I'm like, holy shit, could she read my mind? Like, because I was literally like thinking about my dad, so I thought she meant my dad. But later that night, I found out that the guy next to me, Kevin, he went up and got Patty to come comfort me because I was just going through it. And so I realized I'm like, wow, like for once I really felt safe in a group of men. I didn't feel safe around men for a while. I felt like I needed to protect myself. I felt like I had to guard up. And for once in my life, in that ceremony, I finally felt protected by men. I realized that I was meant to be on the men's side to feel like I was in my feminine energy. If I was on the woman's side, I may have felt like I needed to protect everybody around me. But instead, I was on the men's side and I was finally able to be in my soft feminine energy and have a man protect me and have a man look out for me. I started crying again, and I was like screaming in my head. This went on for like a long time, I feel. Like, I don't know how long it was because I really had no concept of time, but I feel like it was going on for hours of me just sitting there screaming in my head, asking why my mom wasn't there for me. Like, I kept saying, why wasn't she there for me? And I was just like so pissed and I was just so mad and I was like, why? I can't say enough times how many times I said why. I was just so mad and just tears flowing down my face, and my stomach was hurting so bad until I realized that I don't need to know why. I realized there's nothing wrong with me and that she had her own shit to deal with. You know, she went through a lot in her life, and that doesn't make anything that she did right, but it makes me understand more that I don't need to know why she wasn't there for me. She tried her best in the best possible way that she could with what she had, and finally I was just okay with it. I was okay and I accepted it, and I'm like, okay, I love my mom, it's okay. I don't need to understand why. I grieved that, I guess. And ayahuasca also told me that my mom can heal, and that made me feel a lot better as well. Then they called for a second cup, and at this point I had absolutely no control over my body. I feel like Aya just picked me up and brought me in line, and like after I went through all that shit, like I was just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I'm over here gonna take a second cup. I feel like I was speed walking, which is weird because normally people on ayahuasca walk very slow, and I literally like was speed walking to the line. I feel like ayahuasca brought me there. Like, I was just like, whoa, because before that I was just like tired. I felt like I wasn't in my body. I was crying, and then the moment they called for a second cup, boom, I was just there so fast. I was like, okay, I guess I need a second cup. And then I was like kind of ready for it. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go deep. I'm ready to get deeper, because yeah, you go through a lot of shit, but once I was in that headspace, I was almost ready. I'm like, yeah, let's keep this going. Let's get into this shit. Like, let's release all of this trauma, because it felt good to cry. Like, it felt good to cry all that out. So I was just like, yeah, I'm ready. Once I was in line, I agreed. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna take a second cup. She gave me a little bit. She gave me like a tiny amount, and I went back to my mat. I didn't necessarily, like, I've always thought about past lives, and I wasn't sure if I believed in them until this ceremony, because I had a vision of my past life. Now, I know that sounds crazy. I know what you're thinking, like, okay, like, you know, some people don't believe in that stuff, but this is my experience. I'm just gonna say it. I know it sounds crazy. I know everything from here on out is going to sound extremely crazy and is going to sound like I was tripping on drugs, but I promise you, like, this was my experience. I was there, and this is what I saw. So I had a vision of my past life, and it was of this man. It's hard to describe what he looked like. He had dark skin. He was a little bit, well, he was pretty like bigger, like, you know, a little overweight, and he had like a wide face, and he had like some facial hair, and I could tell he was like in a tribe of some sort. I didn't get that much information on him. I saw him, and then I kind of ignored him for a second because I'm like, who the fuck is that? She brought him to my vision again. I had this feeling that it was my past life, so I asked, I'm like, is this my past life? And she said yes. I was not expecting that. I didn't necessarily get what he was feeling in his past life, but I got like little facts about what happened. One of the things is that when he was born, his mother passed away, which is really interesting because as soon as I came into this life, I had always been so attached to my mom, but my mom was like emotionally unavailable for me because she was depressed. In my past life, I was craving the love from my mother that I never had, which is why I came into this life so strong with that need, you know? And so I got that understanding. I'm like, okay. And then I saw him sitting in an ayahuasca ceremony, which is interesting because it makes sense. I get anxiety with a lot of things in life. This is something I would normally have anxiety about, drinking ayahuasca. I wasn't even nervous to drink ayahuasca. I was barely nervous. I was more excited. I finally felt like I reconnected with her again. And in that moment, I realized I don't think I've only sat with her once in a past life. I feel that I've sat with her a lot more than that. It's just almost this knowing of that she's love. I think that's why I 100% trusted her throughout everything. And I 100% trusted the shamans. I 100% trusted the helpers. I 100% trusted everyone. And trust is something that I have had a huge issue with in my life. But I 100% trusted in this experience. The guy who I was in my past life drank ayahuasca, and he was sitting in a ceremony. That's all I got. I didn't get anything else. He may have died from an animal attack. I don't know. I saw like scratches on his face and he was hurt. So I don't know if he died from that or if he was just injured. I really don't know. I did not get much information on that, to be honest. I wish I had more information to say about that, but I really did not get that much information on my past life. Only that his mom died, he drank ayahuasca, he was in a tribe, he was dark skinned, I saw what he looked like, and an animal attack. That's the only things that I saw. And this is where shit gets crazy. So I've done a meditation where it's kind of like astral projection, but I never actually felt like I was astral projecting. Like I never really felt like that. But that's the closest that I can describe this to, because my soul was lifted up from my body. I did not look down. I did not see myself. Like it wasn't one of those experiences where I see myself and I'm looking down at my body. No, I just went up and I just saw up, and I went up past the clouds into the sky, into the universe, into this like galaxy that I don't even know what. I went so freaking far from Earth. I don't even know where it was. I could not tell you. When I'm saying this, I want you to picture this like 10 times more, because I literally cannot describe it into words. I went extremely, extremely, extremely far away. I don't know where. I was just up somewhere. I don't know. I was just up. That's all I can say. I was up. I saw these like spirit beings or like aliens, like I don't know what they were. I just kind of saw the back of their heads, and they were like sitting in this like dome-ish thing. It was like an oval dome and like an egg-shaped thing. And there were like these screens, like it looked like a spacecraft kind of, but like, I don't know. And there were these screens watching these creatures' lives, people's lives. Like, this shit's wild. It's wild to say out loud. Like, my human brain can barely process and understand it, but I know this sounds really crazy, so I'm having a hard time talking about it because I know how this probably comes off. I sound insane, but this is what I experienced. And I saw like this little like toolbar, like, you know, the toolbar on a Mac. I saw something like that, and it had not only Earth, but it had like a bajillion other planets, and Earth was just a very, very tiny small one. And I saw all these little planets on this toolbar thing, and they could like click each one of them and bring up a bigger screen. And like, I was like, oh, what? Like, and what's crazy about it is like, I want to get into my beliefs a little bit, because I'll be honest, I don't necessarily believe in God. I really don't believe in anything. Well, first, I'm spiritual, so that's like a very broad spectrum, right? Like, you can believe in anything and be spiritual. And I'm also agnostic. So what that means is I'm pretty much open to anything, but I don't necessarily believe or not believe. Like, I'm kind of like in the middle, like anything could be possible, because quite clearly, like, we really don't know. So that's kind of how I've always been. I did identify as atheist a while ago, but I'm more agnostic now. So yeah, like, I really didn't know what I believed in, but now I'm kind of like, okay, that shit's real. What I saw is real. Like, you could say I was just tripping, but like, I swear it felt real. I can't even explain. Yeah, that was my experience, and that's what I saw. I saw these alien beings up, I don't know where, up. All I can say is up, because I really don't know where it was. Yeah, it was intense. I then felt like this energy coming up in my system that wasn't mine, and I realized it was either my mom's energy or my ex's energy, which is weird because my mom and my ex have a very similar energy, so I don't know if it was just the energy that was trying to come up or if it was somebody else's, but it felt like it wasn't mine. And I felt this ball of like really, really dark energy in my stomach, and it was coming up in my chest and through my throat, but I couldn't throw it up. Like, it was just like in here, and like I felt this like really dark energy like throughout me. And what's weird about it is I was scared to get rid of it because I wasn't sure who I would be without it, because I didn't know what it was. And I knew it wasn't serving me and I knew it wasn't good for me, but I was scared to get rid of it because I was like, who am I gonna be after I get rid of this energy? And you would think I'd want to get rid of it, right? Like, now I'm sitting here like, bitch, why don't you just throw it up? But I don't know, in the moment I was just like kind of scared, and I was like, who the fuck am I gonna be if I get rid of this? I was then like really yawning so much to where the corners of my mouth were like cracked, and like it was like so bad. Like I was yawning so big. That was like one of the ways that I purged as well. And what's interesting is because when I was watching videos like about ayahuasca, people were always saying like, you have to let go, like you have to. But in this moment when I wasn't able to like get rid of this dark energy, I realized that it's okay to not let go if you don't feel like you're ready to. Ayahuasca was actually really understanding about that, and she respected me for it. She went easy on me, she was gentle with me, and she didn't force me to get rid of anything that I wasn't ready to get rid of. I realized that this dark energy was like really deep rooted within me, almost like all the way to the core of the earth. Like that's how deep it felt. It was pretty difficult to like throw it up. And I realized that it will take time to release that. And at this point, I was extremely overwhelmed seeing all that shit up, I don't know where, up in the universe, I don't know. Seeing that, seeing my past life, going through the shit with my mom, like just going through a whole bunch of shit. I was so overwhelmed. And then finally, this song started playing, and it was like, it said, it is possible to simply stop where you are. In that moment, I was trying to stop, but I couldn't, because I was like, okay, I want this to stop. I've kind of been through enough. I'm really freaking overwhelmed. I couldn't stop. Like, I couldn't stop the visions. I couldn't stop ayahuasca from taking over my body. I just couldn't stop. I just kind of became okay with that. And then I was ready to go really deep. I was ready to just do more work on my traumas. The ceremony came to a close very shortly after that song, and I still felt extremely high. Everybody was getting up, everybody was putting away their mat. I was just laying there like a freaking starfish. Like I just could not get up. I literally felt like there was super glue to my back and the mat. Like I could not, like nobody was gonna tell me to get up. I actually could not physically move. I just felt like I knew too much information, and like what I just told you may not sound very overwhelming, but like picture that like 10 times more. Like literally I cannot explain into words how overwhelmed that I felt from this, because I did not ask to see how the universe worked. I did not ask to see my past life. I did not ask to go through all that shit with my mom. Like all I wanted was to feel feminine energy, but apparently I needed to go through all that to get to that point. I went through a lot in this ceremony, so I was just kind of laying there like, I know too much information. Like that's all I could think of. I was like, I know too much shit. How am I gonna be a human again? I just felt like I was still in a different field of energy that wasn't earth. Like I still felt like my soul was not in my body. I literally like felt like I couldn't even come back to my body either. There was no, like Aya literally like took over me. Like I literally could not like do anything. The information was like super overwhelming, and literally like everybody left. I think there was like one person across the room from me, and then I think she left as well. And one of the helpers, Ayla, came over to me and he like asked how I was doing, and I was like, I think I said something like, I was like, I know too much information. And she was just kind of like nodding her head. She's like, okay. And like when I tell you, like I was so out of my body that looking at all of the humans around me, they looked weird. Like they looked like aliens. Like I felt like I was not a human. Like I was like, what are these creatures? They looked like aliens. Everybody to me looked like aliens because I felt like I was an alien. I don't know how to explain it. I was so confused. Like that's how far out of my body I was. I actually like could not even comprehend that like I was a human. I was just like, what is going on? I also, this is gonna sound really dramatic because it was, I really thought that I would never ever get up. I did not think that my body was physically ever going to be able to get up from this mat. I thought I was going to end up having to stay there and just die. Like I thought that I was gonna live the rest of my life laying on this mat. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but that's like actually how I felt. I was just sitting there like, I can't get up, like I don't know. So then Patty came over to me and she told me like, oh, it really helps like when I wiggle my toes and like all that. So like I started doing that and it felt weird, and I was like I don't know about this, but like I'm like wiggling my fingers and toes, and like I'm just like, oh my god, like I was just like, this doesn't feel right. I don't know how to explain it. It just didn't feel right. They were super nice about it. Like they were like, take your time, like it's okay, we're all here for you. Remind you, I was the only person sitting in this maloka, and then it was like all the other helpers and shamans, and like I'm just the only person left with my mat and all of my stuff, and like my crystals are like all over the place, and I'm just like sitting there like couldn't move. Oh, and one of the things on ayahuasca, at least for me, I wasn't able to see clearly, so like it would be like super blurry. And so one of the helpers came over to me and she asked me if I was okay, and I looked at her and I was like, I can't really see clearly, like I can't see anything. And she looks at me, she's like, yeah, you're still very high. And I'm like, okay, good. Like at least she knows that, because like there was no fucking way I was getting up at all. Like there was no possible way I was getting up anytime soon. So I'm happy that they knew the state of mind I was in. And then she asked me if I wanted tea, and for some reason I thought she meant more ayahuasca, and so I said yes. If someone offered me a cup of ayahuasca right then and there, I would have taken it. That's how far gone I was. Like I was just ready for anything. Like I was just out of this world, literally. And so I thought she meant another cup of ayahuasca, and I was like, oh well, yeah, I'm down for that. Then I realized that it wasn't ayahuasca. She brought me like hot tea, and I took a sip of it and I didn't like it. Like I did not like the taste of anything after ceremony. Like everything just did not taste good, and so I gave it back to her. I was like, I don't want I don't even know what I said to her, but I just kind of was like that's not what I thought I was gonna get. Finally, this girl Dana and Ayla, they helped me up, both of them on each side of me, like helped me up. Like I literally like could not walk by myself, and they had to get me up because the ceremony had closed, and they said I could stay there as long as I wanted, but the last shuttle to go to the house I was staying at was about to leave. So I needed to get my butt up the hill, and I was still really high on ayahuasca at this point. I'm going up the hill with Dana, and this is the part of me that I felt in my core, because as I'm going up the hill, I'm kind of waiting because I left my flip-flops and Ayla was going to get them. And I was talking to Dana and I was like, I saw my past life. And I told her that I was in an ayahuasca ceremony in my past life. And she says, word for word, she says, you know this medicine, don't you? And I got this like overall body sensation of just like, yes, I have sat with Aya before. I know her. Yeah. And it was just this overall body sensation of like a hell yes, I know this medicine. Which was weird because this was like my first time, well, my second time taking Aya in this lifetime, but it was like my first ayahuasca retreat in this lifetime. And I was just like, whoa, I've sat with ayahuasca in past lives. And it resonated so much when she said that. And I was just like, holy shit. I realized how much I love, respect, and trust ayahuasca. And even Dana was telling me her story. And so then Dana walked me up the hill. I sat on this bench as they made me like a to-go plate of food, which was really nice of them. And so they put it in my hands, and like I literally kid you not, like they put it in my hands, and it like I could not sit up. Like it felt so heavy, and like I'm like, whoa, and like someone took the plate away from me because like I clearly could not hold it. I couldn't hold shit. Like I just, everything was heavy. Like my body was just not functioning properly. I was sitting in the van to go down the hill, and I remember I was like literally like falling over like this, and like it was so bumpy, and I was just like this, like kind of falling over, and like I couldn't like sit up in the van. The people who I was staying with, they helped me inside, thank God. I think I was able to walk at this point, like kind of, but they helped me, and like I was super grateful for that because I was just like fucked, honestly. Like I was super high. This girl Helen and this guy Russell stayed up with me pretty much all night just talking, and I was just laying in bed like telling them like I know how the universe works, and like I was just like spieling out like pretty much everything I had just went through. I probably sounded so freaking crazy. And then they went to bed, and then I was like super scared to be alone because I was like, oh my god, I need to be in the ceremony space. Like ayahuasca is very much present within my body, and I felt like she was like trying to take me deeper. Like I was still like in ceremony, like in my body. Ayahuasca was still like trying to like bring up traumas and shit, and like, you know, like I was just like, oh my god, what is happening? Like, you need to go, ayahuasca, like this is not the time, like this is not the time to be doing all this, like you gotta go. I tried eating and the food just tasted terrible and I couldn't eat. This girl Cindy ended up coming in around like 4 a.m. She was trying to get me to eat, but I told her I already tried and I couldn't. She kept trying to like get me to eat, like kind of like how a mother would, but I knew ayahuasca like didn't want me to eat. I know that sounds weird, but like I felt like ayahuasca just wanted me to sit there and like deal with my shit. Finally, I slept for like about an hour. I woke up still high. I literally woke up and I think the first thing I said is, I'm like, how the fuck am I still high right now? At this point, I think it was like 8 a.m. or something. And what's weird is I truly thought that I would feel this way forever. I truly thought that I would feel high on ayahuasca forever. I did not think I would ever come back to normal. I thought I would never be in my human body again. And so I forced myself to get out of bed. I was still in the same dress from the night before. We went up the hill for breakfast. I was kind of like away from everybody, and the chef gave me coconut water for electrolytes. I drank it. Like, I literally chugged it, and as soon as I chugged it, I closed my eyes and I opened them and I could finally see again. And I still felt a little high, but I could finally see, and I was just like, holy shit. Okay, I'm filming on my phone right now. I'm sorry, my camera keeps dying, so I'm gonna have to film the rest on my phone. I only have a little bit left, so I drank the coconut water and I felt better. And one of the guy helpers from the shamans, like, they fixed me a plate of food and I ate a little bit. I wasn't able to eat that much because I still felt like I was like still like pretty much on ayahuasca, and it just felt like I was like still in my own ceremony. Like, I literally felt like ayahuasca like wanted to like move me and stuff, but I felt so weird because everyone else around me was like normal, and I was just over here like in my head and like in my own little world and like literally like not even in my body. So eventually I went in the pool and I felt better and I felt sober again. But yeah, I was literally high on ayahuasca for 15 hours. I don't know, like, that was literally insane to me. It was like 7 p.m. is when it started, and it kicked in like instantly. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, around 10 o'clock is when I became sober, like around like 10 or noon. So like 15 plus hours. I don't know when I jumped in the pool, but that was wild. And yeah, that was my ayahuasca experience. I know it sounded super crazy, and yeah, but that was just what I experienced. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to leave a like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below to see more of my videos. I have more ayahuasca videos coming soon. So yeah, I will see you in the next one. Bye!